There comes a moment in love where words cannot carry the full truth, where actions whisper louder than any confession. For the one who avoids closeness, the one who hides behind walls built from old wounds, letting someone in is no small gesture. It's not just affection, it's a revolution in their soul. If you find yourself witnessing this shift, understand it clearly. You mean the world to them. Think about it. Someone who once turned away from intimacy now chooses to turn toward you. That isn't random. It's sacred. It means your presence has awakened something inside of them that fear could no longer silence. Love for them was once dangerous, yet with you, it feels safe. That safety didn't happen by accident. It happened because of who you are and the energy you bring. When an avoidant decides to stay when everything in them wants to run, that is love in its purest form. When they carve out space in their private world and allow you to enter, it means you've touched the deepest part of their being. And here's the truth. That permission is not ordinary. It's divine. It means you have been chosen not by impulse, but by transformation. Do not underestimate the magnitude of what you're seeing. You're not witnessing hesitation. You're witnessing courage. For a heart that was once shut down, every act of openness is an act of faith. And when that faith is placed in you, it's because you've proven yourself not through perfection, but through presence, consistency, and truth. We all long to be that person for someone, to mean so much that they are willing to rewrite their story just to keep us in it. And when you recognize that this is happening, lean into it, honor it, value it, because you are not just loved, you are trusted. And trust is the currency of the soul. So if an avoidant does this, if they break their pattern, if they open their world, if they stay when staying costs them their pride, their fear, and their armor, it means you are no longer just another chapter in their life. You are the turning point. You are the one who showed them that love is not a threat but a gift, and connection is not weakness but the highest form of strength. And here's what you must remember. You don't just mean something to them. You mean everything. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. Most people think of it as weakness, as letting your guard down in a way that makes you easy to hurt. But the truth is, vulnerability is the highest form of strength because it requires the courage to risk rejection, judgment, or pain in the name of something greater, connection. When it comes to someone with avoidant tendencies, vulnerability isn't just a choice, it is a battlefield they have avoided their entire lives. For them, vulnerability is the territory of danger, a place where past betrayals, abandonment, or disappointments echo the loudest. They've built their world around protecting themselves from that. They've taught themselves to pull back when things get too close, to retreat when intimacy asks for more than they feel ready to give. And yet, when you see them begin to soften, when you notice their guard isn't as strong around you, when they let you see even a glimpse of what they've been hiding, it means something monumental. It means you've become the exception in their world. Think about how extraordinary that is. For someone who has conditioned themselves to avoid closeness, every act of openness is not just a small gesture, it's a declaration. It says, and I trust you with a piece of me I don't share with others. And that trust, that willingness to risk is the ultimate sign that you are not just anyone in their life, you are someone who matters deeply. Vulnerability, in this sense, is their hidden love language. They may not always say the words you want to hear. They may not shower you with constant reassurance. But when they expose a part of themselves that feels raw and unpolished, when they show you their flaws, their fears, or even their dreams, that is their way of telling you that you mean more to them than you could ever imagine. You see, vulnerability from an avoidant doesn't look the same as it does for others. For many people, sharing emotions, talking about fears, or asking for help might come more naturally. But for an avoidant, the smallest acts of openness are massive leaps. When they allow you to see their uncertainty, when they admit they're scared of losing you, or when they reveal a part of their past that explains why they built such strong walls, it's not random. It's intentional. It's a breakthrough. And in that moment, they are saying without words, say, I'm willing to risk being hurt because having you close is worth it. That is love. That is intimacy at its purest form, not the surface-level gestures, not the casual "I miss you" texts, but the act of letting you into the sacred spaces they've spent a lifetime protecting. Vulnerability is the bridge between isolation and love. And when they step onto that DGG with you, it's proof that you hold a power in their life that no one else does. The beauty of this hidden love language is that it often comes disguised. It may appear as them finally opening up about their day when usually they keep quiet. It might look like them sharing a childhood memory that still carries pain. It could even be them admitting they don't have it all figured out, when usually they pretend to be in control. These moments may seem small on the surface, but they are monumental in truth. Each moment of vulnerability is a seed of intimacy, planted carefully because they trust you not to destroy it. And that's the miracle. When an avoidant shows vulnerability, they're not only expressing love, they're also expressing faith. Faith that you won't use their openness against them. Faith that you'll hold their truth with care. Faith that your presence in their life is worth more than the safety of staying behind their walls. That faith is priceless. It's not given lightly. Once it's given, it means you've reached the very core of their heart. Consistency is the compass of love. It is the force that separates passing affection from a bond that cannot be replaced. When it comes to someone who struggles with avoidance, patterns matter more than promises. You see, avoidants have lived in a world where distance felt safer than closeness. Their instinct is to pull away when intimacy gets too intense. They protect themselves by creating space, by keeping one foot out the door, by reminding themselves that they can always survive without anyone. But something changes when you truly mean the world to them. Their instinct to run is replaced with the choice to stay. Their habit of withdrawing is replaced with a steady presence. And that consistency is the ultimate sign of how much you mean. When an avoidant consistently chooses you, it's not because it's easy, it's because it's real. Easy would be falling back into their old ways, finding excuses to keep distance, and hiding behind their emotional armor. Easy would be telling themselves that intimacy isn't worth the risk. But choosing you again and again is not easy for them. It is intentional. It means that every time their mind says, run, their heart says, stay. It means that no matter how uncomfortable closeness might feel at times, the thought of losing you feels far worse. And in that choice, repeated over and over, is a profound declaration: you are not replaceable. We often measure love in grand gestures, in the fireworks of romance, and the loud declarations. But real love, the kind that transforms a soul, is measured in consistency. It's measured in the steady rhythm of someone showing up even when it's difficult. And with an avoidant, that rhythm is sacred, because for them, consistency is not natural. It's learned, it's fought for, it's earned. When they decide to stay connected instead of shutting down, to reach out instead of retreat, to let you in instead of pushing you away, they're giving you something they don't give easily: their trust. Consistency in their love looks like the little things. It's the text they send when you didn't expect it, just to let you know you crossed their mind. It's them showing up to support you even when crowds and emotions overwhelm them. It's them making space in their world for you, not just once, not just occasionally, but again and again. Each act may seem ordinary, but together they form a pattern that says, well, you matter more than my fears. You matter more than my instinct to escape. You matter enough for me to rewrite my habits. And that rewriting is the true miracle, because people don't change patterns easily. Habits of avoidance are deeply rooted in survival. They are wired into the nervous system. To go against those instincts requires more than desire. It requires devotion. So when an avoidant keeps showing up, when they keep choosing closeness instead of distance, it is because your presence has awakened something stronger than their fear. It's not casual. It's not convenient. It's life-changing. Consistency is also how they communicate commitment without words. They may not always say, "I'll never leave," or "You're everything to me," but their actions will say it in 1,000 small ways. Every time they stay when things get tough, every time they let you into their private world, every time they choose connection over escape, they're telling you that you're not just important, you're essential. You're the anchor that keeps them steady when the storm of fear wants to carry them away. That is the gift of consistency. It is the quiet, steady beat of love that tells you exactly where you stand. And with someone who has always found safety in distance, that consistency is more powerful than any declaration. It is their way of showing you that you are not just another option in their life. You are the choice they will keep making, no matter how many times fear tries to pull them away. And when you witness that, you are witnessing the deepest proof that you mean the world to them. Solitude is the refuge of an avoidant. It's not just a preference, it's their sanctuary, their shield, their way of feeling safe in a world that often feels overwhelming. Alone, they can control the environment, regulate their emotions, and avoid the unpredictable storm of human connection. Their solitude is where they recharge, where they feel untouchable, and where no one can hurt them. That space is sacred to them, and for much of their life it is a place they allow no one else to enter. But when you begin to notice that they make room for you in that solitude, When they open the door to that sanctuary and invite you inside, it is one of the clearest signs that you mean the world to them. Think about what that really means. Someone who treasures their time alone, who carefully guards their independence, is now choosing to share that space with you. They're saying, I no longer feel the need to hide from you. That is not a small shift, it's a transformation. It means that your presence doesn't drain them, it nourishes them. It means you've crossed the threshold from being someone they need breaks from to being someone who feels like home. For an avoidant, this is monumental because it's not natural for them to intertwine solitude with intimacy. To do so means you've touched them in a way that feels deeper than comfort. It feels safe. When they invite you into their quiet world, whether it's sitting with them in silence, sharing a simple routine, or letting you be present, without words, it shows that your energy aligns with their deepest need for peace. You've become a part of their rest, not their unrest. And that is love in its purest, most understated form. Many people look for fireworks in love, but with an avoidant, the true fireworks happen in the silence, when they let you sit in the very space they once kept only for themselves. This choice to include you in they. Our solitude also reflects a powerful shift in identity. Avoidants often define themselves through independence, by the belief that they don't need anyone. That belief has protected them for years, but it has also kept them from love. When they begin to carve out a place for you in their solitude, they are rewriting that identity. They are no longer saying, and I must do this alone. Instead, they are saying, yes, I want you here with me. That shift is profound because it means they no longer view closeness as a threat, but as a source of strength. It might show up in subtle ways. Maybe they used to disappear for long stretches without explanation, but now they check in with you even during their alone time. Maybe they used to guard their hobbies or passions like a fortress, but now they want to share those experiences with you. Maybe they once kept you at the edges of their inner world, but now they invite you into the heart of it. These may seem like small gestures, but in truth, they are milestones. Each act of sharing their solitude is a statement. You are part of my inner circle. You belong here. This integration of you into their solitude also signals trust. Solitude is where they are most unmasked, most raw, and most themselves. To let you into that world is to risk being truly seen without the performances or protections they show others. And if they're willing to take that risk with you, it means they see you not just as a partner, but as a safe haven. You've become the exception to the rule, the person who doesn't disrupt their peace but amplifies it. And here lies the beauty. When an avoidant allows you into their solitude, they're not giving you leftover space. They're giving you the most important space of all. The space they once believed no one deserved, the space they thought they would always keep for themselves alone. To be invited into that sacred solitude is to know, without a doubt, that you are more than important. You are irreplaceable. When someone who has lived most of their life behind walls begins to share their inner world with you, it is no ordinary act. For the avoidant, the inner world is a place filled with contradictions, dreams they've never spoken aloud, fears that feel too heavy to reveal, and thoughts that have remained hidden for so long they almost forgot they carried them. This is the territory they keep locked away, not because they don't have depth, but because depth has always felt dangerous. Sharing too much once led to hurt. Opening up once led to rejection, so they learned to protect themselves by keeping others at a distance. But when they start opening that vault and letting you in, it means you've touched them on a level far beyond the surface. Think of the magnitude of that moment. When they confide in you, they're not just giving you information, they're giving you access to their soul. When they share a dream, they're inviting you into their vision of the future, something they may have guarded for. Years out of fear, it could be laughed at or dismissed. When they reveal a fear, they're handing you their most fragile truth, trusting that you won't exploit it. When they let you see their doubts, their insecurities, their inner struggles, they're saying, I believe you can handle the real me. And for someone who has lived so long believing no one could truly handle who they are, that trust is priceless. Sharing their inner world is not easy for them because it means surrendering control. Avoidants thrive on control. It's what makes them feel safe. If they keep their emotions hidden, no one can use them against them. If they stay silent about their dreams, no one can mock them for failing. If they don't reveal their fears, no one can exploit their weakness. But the very act of sharing means they are letting go of that control in exchange for something higher, intimacy. And intimacy is not something they hand out freely. They give it only when they feel someone is worth the risk. This Sharing might come in fragments at first. They might tell you about a childhood memory they've never spoken of. They might open up about a time they felt abandoned or a belief they have carried that has shaped the way they move through relationships. They may confess a dream that feels so personal it almost embarrasses them to say it out loud. Each of these moments is a piece of the puzzle, a doorway into their true self. And as they reveal more, they're weaving you into the fabric of who they are. There's a sacredness to these exchanges. When an avoidant reveals their inner world, it's not casual, it's deliberate. They are handing you a part of themselves that has been locked away. And they're saying, "So I trust you not to drop this." The weight of that trust is immense. It means you've earned a place that no one else has. You've proven, not through words, but through presence, patience, and authenticity, that you are safe. And because of that safety, they're willing to give you what you've denied to countless others, the truth of their heart. In many ways, this is the ultimate form of love. Anyone can give compliments, physical affection, or even acts of service. But to give someone access to the secret world inside of you, that is the deepest level of intimacy a person can offer. It is saying, I want you to know me, the real me, not the version the world sees, not the mask I've worn, but the person I've hidden. And when an avoidant does this, they're not only saying you matter, they're saying you are the one they've been waiting for, the one they finally trust enough to be fully seen. When you witness this kind of sharing, don't overlook it, don't dismiss it as small. It is the clearest evidence that you've gone beyond their defenses and reached their heart. And when that happens, you no longer just matter to them. You've become essential. Silence has always been the armor of the avoidant. It is their shield, their escape, their way of maintaining control in moments when emotions feel overwhelming, when conversations grow too vulnerable, when closeness presses too near. Silence becomes their weapon of choice. They withdraw into it like a fortress, believing that by saying nothing, they can protect themselves from pain, conflict, or rejection. To many, that silence may feel cold or indifferent, but the truth is, silence is not absence, it is defense. And when you begin to notice that their silence transforms into presence, when they choose to stay engaged rather than retreat, it is a profound sign that you mean the world to them. Think about the shift that requires. For someone who has relied on silence to survive, speaking, showing up, or staying present in the heat of vulnerability is not natural. It goes against everything they've taught themselves. Choosing presence means they are no longer prioritizing protection, they are prioritizing connection. It means that instead of disappearing behind their walls, they are standing in the moment with yo. Even when it feels uncomfortable, even when every instinct says, shh, run. That is love expressed in its bravest form. Presence from an avoidant doesn't always look like loud declarations. Sometimes it's as subtle as them listening without shutting down or answering your questions instead of changing the subject. It might be them engaging in a difficult conversation they would normally escape from. It could be them choosing to sit by your side, saying nothing, but still being fully there instead of vanishing into their inner world. These moments may seem small, but in truth they are monumental. Each act of presence says, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. For an avoidant, presence is not automatic, it's earned. They must feel safe enough, loved enough, and valued enough to lower the defenses that silence provides. And when they reach that point with you, it means you've become more important to them than their fear of being hurt. You've created a space where they no longer need to retreat. That transformation does not happen by accident. It happens because of the bond you've built, the consistency you've shown, and the trust you've cultivated. Silence may once have been their comfort, but now your presence has become their comfort. They discover that sitting with you, even in moments of difficulty, feels safer than running away. They realize that protecting themselves with distance costs them something far greater, the closeness they feel with you. And so they make a choice. They choose to replace silence with connection, withdrawal with engagement, absence with presence. That choice is not a one-time event. It's a pattern, a new rhythm that begins to define how they show love. This shift is their way of saying, "You are worth my discomfort," because presence for them is not always comfortable. It requires them to face emotions they've spent a lifetime avoiding. It forces them to stay open when their instincts want to close. It asks them to share parts of themselves that feel too raw. But when they remain present, despite the pull of silence, it is proof that you've become their safe ground. You are the anchor that steadies them when the storm of fear wants to pull them away. And the beauty is this: their presence is more powerful than any romantic gesture. Flowers wilt, words fade, but presence is eternal. It is the act of standing by you moment after moment and choosing not to run. For an avoidant, that is the clearest sign of devotion, the loudest declaration of love, because presence means risk, it means exposure, it means vulnerability. And yet, for you, they are willing to embrace it. So when silence turns into presence, recognize it for what it truly is, a miracle, a sign that the one who once hid behind silence has found someone worth speaking to, worth showing up for, worth staying with, to let in beyond all fear. Commitment is never casual for someone who has lived most of their life avoiding closeness. For the avoidant, commitment is the very thing they've resisted, the chain they believed would take away their freedom, the risk they feared would end in rejection or abandonment. They have spent years convincing themselves that it is safer to stay unbound, safer to keep options open, safer to run before anyone can run from them. But when they begin to commit to you, not just in words but in consistent action, it is a revelation. It is the clearest evidence that you mean the world to them. Because commitment, for them, is not an accident. It is a conscious decision to do what once felt impossible, to stay. When an avoidant commits, it is not the shallow kind of commitment that comes from convenience or routine. It is not a fleeting promise made in the heat of the moment. Their commitment is deliberate, heavy with meaning, because it goes against the very wiring of theai. Instincts. Every fiber of their being may scream for independence, for escape, for safety behind walls. Yet when they look at you, when they choose you, when they stay despite those instincts, it means they have found something greater than fear. It means you've become more valuable to them than the armor they once thought they needed. Their commitment might not look like the grand gestures of romance we often see in movies. Instead, it shows up in the small, steady choices they make. It shows in their willingness to plan a future with you when they used to only live in the present. It shows when they keep showing up for you, even when the relationship feels uncomfortable, even when conflict arises, even when intimacy demands vulnerability. It shows in the fact that they don't run when things get hard. That for an avoidant is love in its purest, most courageous form. To commit, they must first tear down the stories they've told themselves for years. Stories like, and I don't need Enyo, nay, or people always leave, or love is too dangerous. Those stories have shaped the way they move through life, and breaking free of them is no small task. It requires them to step into unknown territory where love is no longer an enemy but a gift. And when they choose that new story with you, it's because you've shown them something undeniable. You've shown them that love can be safe, that connection can be freeing, that intimacy can be the very thing that brings them alive. Their commitment is not casual because it is born from transformation. They don't stumble into it blindly. They walk into it with eyes wide open, aware of the risks, aware of their fears, aware of the discomfort. And yet they stay. They choose. They build. That choice, made again and again, is their way of declaring, "Finch, you are my world." And here's the truth. When an avoidant commits, it is not fragile, it is unshakable, because they do not give it lightly. They've spent years withholding it, guarding it, convy, and seeing themselves they didn't need it. So when they finally give it, it means they've crossed a threshold they never thought they could. They've reached a place in their soul where you are no longer just important, you are essential. You've become the person they're willing to build a life around, not because they have to, but because they want to. That is the beauty of commitment from someone who once feared it. It is not ordinary, it is extraordinary. It is not casual, it is sacred. It means you've become the anchor they never thought they would need, the safe harbor they never believed existed, the love that made them brave enough to stay. And when you see that commitment, know this: it is the loudest declaration they could ever make. Because for the one who once ran from love, staying is the greatest proof of all that you mean the world to them. Thank you for giving your time, your energy, and your heart to this message. Remember, the truths we've shared here are not just ideas. They are living principles you can carry into your own relationships and your own life. If these words spoke to you, it's because there's something inside of you that's ready to rise higher, love deeper, and live with greater courage. I honor you for choosing to grow, for choosing to understand, and for choosing to stand in love even when it's not easy. So as we close, I want you to hold this truth close. You are worthy of a love that stays, a love that shows up, and a love that transforms. Thank you for being here. Thank you for walking this journey. And until we meet again, stay strong, stay open, and stay true to the highest version of yourself. Goodbye for now, and may you step into the kind of love and life that was always meant for you.